Hi. If you let me in chat know if you can hear me. Today, we're going to be doing what is AI and its impact. It's a pretty light workshop. We're just going to really break down what AI is and its impact. The whole point is this is for our introduction to our beginners to fully understand what they're getting involved with. I've dropped the check-in link into the chat. If someone can let me know that they can hear me, that would be greatly appreciated. Hello. Okay. So really quick, hi, my name is Kev. So I'm a coach at Magically Hacking. I know there's no video, unfortunately. I'm in a place there I can't have video on, so you can pretend that you can see me. But today it's going to be pretty fun. It's really a light workshop. I would love for everyone to chime in about anything they know about AI, history related, non-history related, what they've seen use cases and stuff. We'll just be going some really quick definition and stuff. But I'm Kev. And I'm a coach at Magically Hacking. I use the he, him pronouns. I do a lot of different things. So feel free to talk about anything. I have a concentration of security, kind of mixes that as really prevalent essentially in every field of a type of tool it is. But yeah. So let's get going. So today's objective, it's pretty short because I hope there's a lot more interaction with the chat, especially because I know some of the users are new to AI, some of them aren't. This workshop is really meant to help people who don't fully understand AI a bit. It's going to be in more of a lecture style, unfortunately, because of what we're trying to achieve. Hello, welcome. So we're going to go over what is AI, the history of AI, and then its impacts. It's a pretty chill. You can use this as background, and it's great. Yeah, it could be used as a collaborative tool that can automate processes. Automation is one of the key things in computer science, but AI takes it to another step in the automation process, and we'll learn about that. So first things first, there's a lot of different definitions of AI. We're going to explore some of those. I'm going to read them out loud so you don't have to read them. I know the font might be a tad bit small. It was a lot to fit in, but AI is the science and engineering of making intelligent machines, especially intelligent computer programs. It is related to the similar task of using computers to understand human intelligence, but AI does not have to confine itself to methods that are biologically observable. That is a quote from John McCarthy. I think that's how you say his name, and we're going to go over who he is. But he is actually known as one of the founder for AI. Well, during our history portion, we'll go over a bit more about who he is. But as you can see, that's a pretty decent definition of AI. It talks about how essentially is an intelligent machine that in a day is a type of computer program that can understand what we can understand, but is not limited by our biology, right? So our ability, so humans need sleep, human needs to eat, AI don't need to sleep, AI don't need to eat. So that's really cool, right? Again, feel free to chime in chat at any point, any stage of our conversation. I love to run these more as a back and forth than just me talking because I really don't like lecturing that much. Another definition from Wikipedia, which if you are interested in AI, a quick read of the Wikipedia page is pretty interesting. And there's also a lot of big companies that do write really good definitions or introductory article to AI, especially a lot of our cloud computing companies, such as like IBM or like Microsoft. They generally have articles that break into this topic because they sell a product that works, right? So like Microsoft recently, I think planning the dump, I forgot it was like 10 billion or $10 million to like OpenAI. If you haven't heard of OpenAI, ooh, been it has dropped something as ChatGPT, which I think Dimmer actually went over a stream before mine, and it's such a cool tool. We actually have other workshops later to look at tools that exist that has AI implemented, such as like Copilot. If you've never heard of GitHub Copilot, and it is a program where as you write code, this AI has been trained on all type of codes to upload to GitHub. So you think about it, how many repositories are on GitHub? So we're talking about millions and millions of lines of code that this AI has been trained on to be able to help you code as you're typing. Can we make an AI to outsmart GPT-0? That's a great question. So AI also has complete continuous improvement on top of each other. We can explore that as we go along. So let's go over our next good definition of AI. So our next definition of AI we're going to explore is artificial intelligence is intelligent, perceiving, synthesizing, inferring information demonstrated by machines as opposed to intelligent displayed by non-human animals and humans, right? So it is a way for machines to be able to perceive things, right? So understand, as whoa, there goes the slide for a second. But sorry, I'm actually on. I'm not home today, so it's a really unique setup. I'm running on of a mobile station because I'm at school, but that's a different story. But essentially, there has been AIs that have been able to redefine the world around us. Because we know that like our fundamentals, such as chemistry and physics, there has been AIs that have been, let's say, isolated, and we have told the AI, after it's been trained, like how, without knowledge of current physics, how can you explain different phenomenons around us, right? So like gravity, etc. And there's been AI that can recreate physics with the same number of parameters we came up with as humans as we try to understand the world around us. There's AIs that come up with completely different parameters that works, that still explain the same, let's say, actions that we can with human physics. But yeah, so artificial intelligent AI makes it possible for machines to learn from experience, adjust to new input, and perform human-like tasks. That's from statistical analysis systems, or SAS. But here's my favorite definition of AI, which is, at its simplest form, artificial intelligence is a field which combines computer science and robust data set to enable problem solving through predictions and decisions, right? So it is, at the end of the day, AI is just a field. It's using computer science combined with a lot of data to which the AI is learning to really think, let's achieve a level of perceived intelligence. My slides might go in and out. I do apologize for that. Bear with me here. But yeah, so that is my favorite definition of AI. It's a definition from IBM plus a bit of my own interpretation of how AI functions. Oops, I meant to be let's talk instead of let's talk ethics, because I did an ethics lecture before. We can also take ethics of AI because that's actually a really intriguing conversation, which we'll actually touch upon a bit later in today's talk or lecture. So let's talk about the history of AI, right? So how AI came to be. Actually, shockingly, the idea of AI where a machine that is able to think dates all the way back to Greece. It's not a new concept, but it really has become prevalent as we have gone into the age of electronic computing, right? We came up with new ways to store information, to have computers go through logic trees or logic patterns for it to work. So as that goes, there's a lot of important dates and milestones of an evolution of artificial intelligence that starts all the way from around the 1950s. So if you're a computer science nerd, which is not necessarily saying that's a bad thing, in 1950, Alan Turing published his Computer, Machinery, and Intelligence, right? It's a paper that Turing wrote that focused on breaking the Nazi Enigma machines or code during World War II. So propose in this question, is, can machines think? And that paper actually introduced what we call the Turing test. It is to determine if a computer can demonstrate the same intelligence as a human. So the value of this has been debated because, like most things we learn in 1950, has kind of lapsed to a degree where we're questioning, is that definition enough to determine the same intelligence as a human? And we saw a quote from this guy earlier. This is when AI really became a thing, or when the term artificial intelligence was coined. It was in 1956. A person named John McCarthy coined the term artificial intelligence as the first ever artificial intelligence conference held at Dartmouth College. And later that year, Alan Newell and a few other, like Herbert Simon, created the logic theorist, which is the first ever actually AI running program. So in 1956, we had John McCarthy, who coined the term artificial intelligence. And in that same year, we had 3 computer scientists who were able to create logic theorist, the first ever running AI software program. Well, now you could really be asking yourself, what could define as AI, right? So I can write a program, I can write an algorithm that is able to compute logical things, but what makes that different than AI? That's something we'll explore later today. But just to note, McCarthy is also the person who invented the Lisp language. If you ever learned that in school, or if you ever stumble upon it, right? So McCarthy is not a smart person. He is a pretty key figure in the computer science history world, where he invented Lisp. He also coined the term AI, or artificial intelligence. So then we fast forward a few more years, right? So that was 1956. Now we're going to look at 1967. This is where a computer scientist named Frank, I think it's Rosenblatt or Blatt, I can't say names, built the first Mark I precision. It is the first computer based on a neural network that learns through trial and error, right? So this is one of the key distinctions of AI and regular programs, is that AI has the ability to learn from its mistake, or learn from what's correct and what's wrong, without you have to specifically tell it how to build out this logic tree. You can look at things, and it's like, I don't know if you heard of, I forgot which philosopher or psychologist did that experiment where it essentially awards the AI and punishes the AI in a sense when it does something correct and when it does something wrong, and it kind of computes and keeps the data so it knows how to do something right. Which becomes both a landmark in the neural network world, as well as has worked on a lot of future neural networks. So that was 1967. We had our first computer based off neural network that was able to learn through trial and error. So our first really like iteration of AI. Then we forward. I know history is boring, but history is really important to see what we'll have touched upon. 1950, where Alan Turing publishes the Computing Machinery and Intelligence, which is a paper that is famous for noting how to break Nazis' Enigma code during World War II. And he talks about how the Turing computer could have the same intelligence. We have 56, which is John McCarthy, who coined actually the term artificial intelligence. We talked about 1967, which is Frank Rosenblatt or Blast. I'm not sure how to say that. Mark computer actually on no network and by itself. We have 1980, which is when neural network really started using back propaganda algorithm to train itself and become widely used. So like 1980 is when really we started to have great research into AI and how we can have AI teach itself. And we will go over the different models and different types of AI in a later lecture, because I'm actually doing a multiple series of these lectures. This is our first one where we're going to touch upon a bit of history, right? So then we have 1997, which is IBM's Deep Blue. If we don't remember that, that was really crazy. So this is our first AI that was able to beat a human pretty consistently. It beat the world champion of chess during that time, named Gary Kasparov. I can't say his last name. It was chess match and a rematch. And then 2011, IBM Watson beat champions Ken Jennings and Brad Rutter at Jeopardy. So as you can see, from essentially 2000 onward, we have only gotten better and better and better AIs. So 2015, we have Baidu's Mingwa supercomputer, which used a kind of deep learning network. So that allowed it to categorize images with high rates of accuracy than the average human. So something that humans would mess up on, a computer could do correctly. And then we have the last really key point. Team develop in a 5-game match, which is crazy. So from there, we can see that AI developed a lot, and that's really the history. Then we have to nowadays where we have things like OpenAI that goes over a lot of things. So now let's actually learn about types of AI and what makes AI AI, right? So there are actually two really types of AI. You have your AI type 1, which are capability-focused AI. So there are AIs that are really built around serving a certain purpose, or that's how we categorize them. So we have the capabilities are the type of these AIs are weak and narrow, general, and strong. Then we have another way, which is called AI type 2, which is based on its functionality. So some of these AI, these are gets a bit more complex, which we probably won't go over. If we have time at the end, we will explore them a bit. But we have things like reactive machines, limited memory, theory of mind, and self-awareness. So these are your different types of AI. So let's dive down to type 1, right? So what is the difference AI? So these are really important. In type 1, we had weak AI and strong AI, and these are generally the most common type of AI you will see around you. So weak AI, also known as narrow AI or artificial narrow intelligence, it is AI that is trained to focus on a specific task. So these are the most common AIs you see around you, but those are just built. It's when for a trend, right? These are the easiest AIs to build. They are generally capable of solving one problem and executing a single task well. That's what we call them weak or also narrow AI, because they really just do one thing. One of the ones I didn't list here because it kind of blends in with strong AI. It's also known as general AI. General AI and strong AI kind of blend together, but essentially, general AI is also, or also strong AI is also known as artificial general intelligence or artificial super intelligence. The differentiation is there. Artificial general intelligence essentially is where the machine have intelligent equal level of cognitive function across a variety of domains, right? So this means it'd be a machine that acts just like me, right? I can do algebra, I can do math, I can clean, I know how to cook. It's just like a human that it doesn't serve a specific function. Unlike if I make a chess AI, all it does is know how to play chess. A general AI will be like, I can do anything a general daily thing, right? I can do math, I can teach, I can create workshop and create documents, right? So essentially achieve a level of human intelligence. That's where we call them artificial general intelligent. Well, actually, I will explain. NPL, natural language processing, is not a form of strong AI, and we'll go over why actually later. There's actually a workshop that's coming up later in the week where we really break down the types of AI. But to answer your question, DataCut 34, no, natural language processing is not a form of strong AI. Because the reason for this is general AI, which is the weakest form of strong AI, doesn't even exist yet. We have not developed a machine that has the human level of cognitive functions across multiple domains yet. For example, let's use something we know, right? So ChatGPT is been trained to be able to parse data or take a question from something, and with its gathering of internet data, repeat you the most optimal answer it can provide, right? And we have AI such as DALL-E 2, which is the art AI, which has been trained to do art. But there's been no AI that you can talk to it like regular. We also have things like, I don't know if you've heard of, there's chat AI such as like Replica, or I think it's how you pronounce it, where it's like you are allowed to chat with almost like a human. These are all AIs that's been specialized. They have narrow capabilities. They only can do something. They're all known as weak or narrow AI. General AI is when we get to a degree where the AI no longer is trained for a specific purpose. It can do multiple things. It's kind of like when we started touching around the lines of sentient beings and AI becoming sentient. And we have nothing like that as of now. Well, at least the public doesn't know of anything in existence such as that, right? So the next level of strong AI is known as artificial super intelligence. This is where machines would be self-aware. They could solve problems, learn, plan for the future. They're stronger than humans, right? Because it's when it surpasses human intelligence and can perform any task better than human with its cognitive processes or abilities. right, or properties, right? They have the ability to think, reason, make judgment, plan, learn, communicate on its own. This for sure doesn't exist. This is a level above human capability, right? Because humans were weighed down by a lot of things, right? We have our emotions, we have our mental being, our spiritual being, our physical being, right? AI has no limitation. We have to sleep, we have to eat, we have to take breaks. We can't always be learning. When we get to general and strong AI, that is no longer a thing. They're essentially, as general AI, they're us without our limitations, and strong AI is they're above us. They can now process and surpass the human intelligence, perform tasks better than humans on any cognitive plane. So let's go over a few other example of weak AIs, right? So some stuff we might know. So I already talked about like Replica, or that like AI chat service. We also talked about such thing as ChatGPT, right? It serves a specific purpose to train for. There's games. If you know, you can train AI to play Mario, right? The Super Mario game where you like hop on mushrooms or whatever, the Nintendo game, right? You can train AI to specifically do that. These are all weak AI. It only does one thing. Another example, which you might postal service zip code readers, right? They always look for a 5 handwritten digit that in other countries, but most postal services have you use AI to, let's say, read your handwriting, right? And it takes a bit of work there. Sorry if the screen flickers a bit. Internet's not great where I am, which is funny because I'm in a lab for computer science stuff, and the Wi-Fi sucks, but it's okay. Another example would be self-driving cars, right? So self-driving cars, another form of weak or narrow AI. All it knows, it's been programmed and trained and simulated. It's been trained in simulation of a car driving. Another example was these are your most common version of weak AI, such as Siri, Alexa, Google Home, right? All they do is they listen to you talk, they understand what you say, but they can't make really any inferences, right? And then they just kind of read off of Google search results, right? And that's really unique because if you think about it, there's a lot of time where Alexa or Siri or Google Home will go, sorry, well, I can't do that or repeat that. Yes, I agree. CS department at university really shut their own Wi-Fi. It kind of really sucks. I don't know if you heard, it's actually really common. A lot of large universities, if you go to university, it's something called UD-Realm. It's an effort to allow students, when they travel between universities, to just be able to use Wi-Fi through their own university account. UD-Realm sucks. I'm just kidding. It has its pluses and its disadvantages, but I get basically not great internet here and there. But yeah, if you're interested, you can always look into functionality-based AI, right? Such as like reactive machines, limited memory, theory of mind, self-awareness. The key there is self-awareness, right? So it's two ways of research categorizing AI, either through its ability, its capabilities, or its functionalities. Okay, let's see. What else did I plan? So how does AI really impact the world? Right. So let's take a really quick quote. So chief AI scientist at now known as Meta had a quote, which was artificial intelligence systems are going to be an extension of our brains, the way an extension of our legs. They're not going to amplify the important is understanding that AI does not necessarily mean it can replace us. Where we should use people for some examples of how, right? So how does the AI impact the world? Some of the AI's top use cases would be such things as speech recognition, right? Allows AI to learn and train through a lot of different people's voices to help better serve either our people who need accessibility or have a disability, stuff like that, right? AI could be used in customer service, right? Which kind of experience. It would be like if you were calling to your bank, instead of having that really simple like programmed out logic where it goes press 1 for something. It would be like you could have AI on the phone that talks to you briefly, figure out what you need to do, take down some basic case information, then send it off to a human, right? So it could be using computer vision. This is really unique. Computer vision is what actually drives things like self-driving cars. So AI can also be used in something like that, right? It teaches how to look at something and match it with something. And that's actually really key because computer vision has actually a lot of more usage, right? You have such thing as self-driving cars. You can also think of computer vision in its usage on such things like in the medical field, right? To identify, let's say, cancer skin cells, or to look at x-rays, because humans have a lot less a predictable amount of margin of error. When you train models properly with computer vision and are able to do this with high level precision, we can start to knock out our basically margins of error to a lot lower things. Another thing is like recommendation engines, right? We see how ChatGPT have gotten strong enough. To be honest, I don't know if you tried. You can tend to ask ChatGPT to code you something, and ChatGPT is able to do that. ChatGPT can also, on top of that, spit out a shell code of how you would code AI, and it's actually great. I actually heavily recommend, if you're learning something, especially when you're learning a new concept, ChatGPT is free right now, which means it actually works better than Google, because ChatGPT takes different parameters you give it and builds out the most optimal thing for you to read. So if you're a computer science major, or if you're just interested in computer science, it's always great to maybe not Google something, because Googling, right, only brings up search results. Googling is like, it has like, it's like, think of it as like archive of data, and it just looks for things that match what you process the archive of data. And what it does is it compiles the best of the archive of data and spit it out to you. Actually, it's amazing to have ChatGPT open to ask it a question, and it will compile the best of results it can find. Okay, cool. Another thing we can talk about is automated stock trading, right? I know, right? It's actually really cool. This also works for a lot of different AI things. Actually, if my mouse clicks, right? So for example, like DALL-E AI, where AIs that generate graphical interfaces, if you change a word here and there, it computes completely different things. So does ChatGPT, right? So if you make slight adjustments to your prompt, where you ask it to do it a different way, it will try. But it is pseudo predictable, right? Let's think about optimal content. Write a song about two people. It writes them the same song, replacing the name, because that's the optimal song it has, and all it needs to do is replace the name in it. Well, yeah, because if you think about it, ChatGPT is trained on the internet. It takes a long time. If you have never trained an AI, it takes a long time to train an AI. So there's no data after 2021 because ChatGPT has been trained on everything before 2021. So you can't ask anything before. And they're working on training ChatGPT for data from 2021 to 2022 and slowly improving its knowledge. Here's also really cool. We'll actually go over this more different lecture. How training AIs work, right? It's essentially like you train it and then you store what you train and you can continue training it. So it doesn't mean you train it once and it's kind of stuck and it doesn't grow anymore. You just be able to continue to train it. But yeah, so we have other things like self-driving cars, auto art generator, intelligent search engines. But yeah, other top use cases I might have not listed here that has been considered from a lot of articles perspective are things such like customer experience, supply chains, human resources, fraud detection, knowledge creation, research and development, and like real-time operation management, customer service, risk management, right? If you don't know, there's actually a lot of huge companies such as like Amazon or a lot of big company has now turned to AI to sort through its candidate. These company gets, I don't want to say millions because millions probably not wrong, but essentially a lot of, let's say, resumes submitted to them or stuff, right? And they've gone to a point where they don't have the human resources to be able to go through each of them. That actually a lot of huge tech company, they don't like to admit it, or if they, some of them don't admit it or had problems, because I will discuss in a second actually ethical issues in AI. But essentially what occurs is they'll use AI to parse through all your resumes and stuff you submitted to look for that has been trained to find like best candidates that serves their needs. I think that might be all the slides we have for in terms of that part of our lecture. Any questions from anything we've gone over so far? If not, I'm going to talk a bit about AI's impact, and then we can talk about some ethical issues with an AI. But essentially, another key thing about AI's impact would be such thing as AI could help us protect the environment, right, or destroy it. AI could help us no longer will break through things that might have been considered science fictions, right? So like AIs and robotics are transforming like healthcare, right? AI can perform surgeries. I don't know if you've seen those robots that have been trained on AI to cook dishes. And as we can see, the key things here is the word train, right? AI currently needs training and are not able to do it by themselves, or most are not. We have not gotten to where AI training and that data has to be collected for. And this is where we bring up the ethical issue, which I think I might be missing a slide for. Let's change to let's talk ethics, right? We're just going to use this slide. Instead of history of AI, we're going to talk about some of the ethical issues within AI, right? And participate in this portion of the conversation. So we have seen a lot of movies and stuff made by Hollywood about how AI is such a dangerous technology. And one of the reasons is there's been research on this as well, is that, so what if you ask the AI that's been trained the most common ethics question, which is there are 6 people, a train is coming down the tracks. There are 6 people on one track. There's one person on the other track. And the train is currently going towards the one person, that is currently going towards the 6 people. Do you know if many companies are budgeting ethical oversight for AI projects? Actually, I actually kind of do know this a bit. I can't name the exact company, but I've actually attended different type of seminar where we talk about the usage of AI and how to use it ethically, right? It's a huge under defense contracting realm, and it depends. It's like this is an afterthought, and that is the issue. A lot of company has started to apply the usage of AI without really considering how they're being designed or what data they've been passed on. If you didn't know, there was a company that developed the AI that are used for help just make that gives essentially a case where a person who's part of a criminal case a rating from 1 to 10 on how dangerous they are. And what the study found was because of that the AI is trained on data that are left by previous judges who might have been biased or might have seen more different ethnicity of a certain type and falling for different, let's say, crimes or et cetera, right? So essentially the real world biases within that data got carried over to the AI, where the AI was giving someone who only stole a bike, but because of they're someone of color, a rating of 10 on the dangerous level. But in turn, they gave a person who was Caucasian, who legit murdered someone, a dangerous rating of 3. And this becomes the biggest thing, right? And a lot of companies started developing AI with training AI models. For example, stock companies are training AI models to help analyze the stock market. And it's really making sure that whenever you're training AI or AI models, to pick and clean your data. And that is one of the lessons and most important about working in the field of artificial intelligence. So I would honestly say that a lot of companies might not have ethical oversight for AIs. There are some companies who are more under public's eyes that might have an ethics committee that helps try to oversee some of this stuff. And let's be honest, a lot of huge companies, you have a code base that's been developed after year after year after year. Sometimes even the current developers at huge companies, even things that are not artificial intelligence based, we start to lose touch of it, and it becomes what we call a black box, right? Where we throw something in and we don't know how it comes out, but whatever we want comes out, and we don't know the logics in between. And that is one of the most dangerous things about AI, is we don't want AIs to become a process of a black box. AIs, a lot of good AIs of AI design has also the ability to look at how the AI makes its decision structure. So we can kind of follow through it, right? So if you've never seen a decision logic tree or a decision tree where it follows one after another and after one after another, and you can see. And the key thing is, we didn't build that decision tree. Some artificial intelligence that's been trained on it built that decision tree, and that is the really cool part. But yeah, that's also the dangerous part, is that there has to be a way to look at how the AI is making a decision, or have AI explain itself, and that's where decision tree comes in. It's really important. Is it streamlining? In a sense, right? Please come up with questions. I'll move back to the question side. I'm more than happy to. So it's really, I answer questions around AI to the best of my abilities, and it's really important. To share automation and AI are terms that can go hand in hand, but are necessarily the same thing. What automation is, right, is when you can also define logic structures. All right, because I can say, it's like in your code, when something happens, something else happens, something else. And this is really apparent if you want to become a software developer, in something called the continuous integration, continuous deployment pipeline, where a lot of companies out there are automating that process, where if you check in code, so let's say I'm a developer, I write some code, I check it in, what happens is then that will trigger, let's say, it to run a certain command. After that command is ran, based off of if it fails or passes, it runs something else. So you kind of wrote out the decision tree. How AI can play a part in that process, where it can be completely different, is AI would be maybe, let's say, be used to help the developer code, right? And the AI could maybe tell the developer this is not the most optimal way of coding, or maybe AI has been used on like things like vulnerability scanners, right? Where let's say AI can look at this code base and be like, here and here are where the common vulnerabilities, because they learn from all sort of other data of code bases. But AI can be used to streamline processes, and it's actually pretty cool when it is. I honestly like to think AI is more, personally, I prefer AI to be used in a more informational type of way than in a really automation replacement type of way. Because I think the final decision should still be made by someone. But AI is a really great tool that it can provide you information you can on basis, or maybe the AI can provide you the logic of how it reached its decision for a human to then go through and check, which I think is one of the best possible usage of AI. And a really cool example of that would be, let's say, we can have AIs, but we could go back to that court scenario. Instead of AI giving someone a score and using that, AI can maybe help look through information and pick out certain things, such as maybe it can dig through the internet to look for criminal record, criminal history. It's been trained to go and essentially compute a profile, and all it does is it summarizes factual things instead of, let's say, maybe assigning them a score. So the AI didn't make the decision, but the AI helps streamline the process for a human to make the final decision call. But the biggest issue is bias. Existing AI is the sole killer of essentially everything AI related, because it's really hard to remove bias, because even someone who says they're non-biased, or as non-biased as they can be, unfortunately, if you're a human, you have bias, right? Because our experience is what shapes us. Our lessons that we learn is what shape us, and how we grow up is what shape us. Our culture is what shape us, and our ideology and philosophy is what makes us different. So this is actually one of the biggest challenges if you get into artificial intelligence, is to be able to isolate our biases from the data sets we allow to train AI. There's ways to do it. It's a lot of data cleaning. Actually, one of my favorite things where I'm actually really interested in and want to explore in AI more personally is I am technically, my focus is in cybersecurity, which with a also focus on like malware analysis, right? So AI is an amazing tool to be used in something like that, right? Because it's a lot of malware analysis, a lot about looking for common patterns, looking for common tricks and stuff like that. Having to analyze the malware, AI can use the same method and be trained on how to distinguish and dissect malware, and let's say categorize malware, and then it can do it for me. So for example, instead of we having to know that this is, let's say, a ransomware, the AI can be trained to recognize ransomware, which means when instead of being hit by ransomware, we start analyzing to learn about the ransomware, they can look at key factors or key identifiers that makes a malicious program, a ransomware, and be able to look at a program as it's running or as it's going, and then identify it as ransomware. because it has already a list of key features that I can check and run in the snap of a finger, compared to the me, which I have to read through its binaries, read through its assembly code, and stuff like that. Yes, bias is a challenge in many ways. You can use also AI to analyze bias. I think that's a really intriguing question. Actually, that's AI to recognize bias. It's like, if you, I don't know if you heard of things. It's such as when you have like snap filters that are unable to pick up because like this is not even something just AI related, right? It's like when you have, let's say, snap filter or something that's been only tested on a certain type of ethnicity, it doesn't work as well for another ethnicity because it's testing. It's the same type of thing, right? So just making sure your test data and your actual data you use are clean and are broad range is all you really need to do. Do we have any other questions from the audience? Anything about AI that intrigues you? If not, I can see if we can have anything else that would be fun to talk about. Let's see. It's actually really important for people in, let's say, computer science courses or in computer science program to take any sort of ethics course or class because of it being such a big issue. So if you ever end up going to computer science at any, there's a class that teaches you about how to do it ethically and what are some challenges within computer science and AI. So in this plan, if there's no other questions or things like how to get started in AI or I will look for maybe something we can talk about in AI. I also don't want to, because I also have a lot of this planned out for other sessions. So yeah, any questions from the audience? If not, I will come up with material. How about let's do this. Let's do a fun audience exercise. How many people think that, I mean, this is fair, and I think there's a lot of argument about this. We're literally making things that are unintentionally takes people's job. What's ethics? I personally don't know, because again, ethics is a topic of conversation that there's no right or wrong answer. There's a lot of gray zones, and there's more societally acceptable answers or accepted answers. But there's technically no right or wrong answers in ethics, in a sense. There's a lot of gray zones that can be discussed, and I've seen arguments that benefit AI. I have seen arguments that personally don't benefit AI. I personally, I don't want to say against AI. I think we should be pretty scared of developing something that can overcome our ability to control it, right? So when we start developing like general AIs or super AIs instead of weak AI, like strong AI instead of weak AIs, we come into a pretty big centralized problem where you no longer really understand what you've created. And I think that is the most scariest part about AI. And I'm okay with AIs that are more in terms of that performs analysis, where like weak AIs that does some specific task really well. And really nothing, I personally don't think, I don't know. I think AI just is going to get into the realm of AI. We just have to take a lot of cautious approaches. And I get AIs are really powerful tools, but with power comes responsibility, and with whoever's leading the responsibility doesn't have human emotion, it becomes a really interesting topic. I don't know. I have fought with myself as a computer scientist to really understand how I really want to feel about AI. And my approach to it so far is weak AI to a degree is good. it's beneficial when it helps us doing more an analysis type of things. But I don't think it should replace final decision making. It could be used to streamline stuff, but not really replace complete things. But there's also arguments. I just give the fair picture from other sides of the IOs that goes along the lines of like, oh yeah, but AI no one really has to work, and we can have like maybe a standard living thing where you're paid every month a certain amount. And there's all sorts of argument. It's a really tough question. I was actually going to ask how many people in chat are for AI, how many people in chat are against AI, since it's such a, I personally think it's a pretty controversial topic of conversation. And even as a computer scientist, I can appreciate the beauty of AI. I just think it's such a dangerous tool. I don't know if we're really ready to use it in many sense. In 6 weeks, or on March 20th, 23, I look forward to completing a collaboration on a project with local chapters based in Germany using NLP, natural language processing. The project is called Detecting Bias in Climate and more. That's pretty cool. There's so much uses of AI. I actually will be working on an AI project myself. Because again, I believe in the saying, to really understand what you're fighting for, you have to be able to do it yourself, right? I actually will be working on an AI project myself, hopefully building an AI tool to help work on analysis stuff. Oh, 100% statistics, right? Because like AI essentially is a subfield of statistic where you're training models, right? So you're talking about levels of precision, your standard deviations, your k-means, your and yeah, if you get into things, I feel like, let's say like coding theory, right? I think you're talking about like linear algebra and like algebraic function, or like algebraic coding theory, but it's like a lot of statistic and probability are the most common math subjects that are in AI machine learning, and statistic is huge, like super huge. Oh, well, linear algebra helps, right? Because a lot of the models are based off of things in linear algebra. So like gradient descent is a pretty complex math concept. You don't really have to understand it mathematically sometimes. So you get an AI, when you like just get into AI, it's okay to understand just what gradient descent is, and such thing as like finding the elbow of a k-means chart for like things that are like categorizations, or AI that does categorizations, stuff like that. Yep, probability and statistics are probably your biggest. A mix of linear algebra and things that can help you understand essentially modeling, which is really prevalent in statistics. But yeah, there's also a lot. If you're trying to get involved with AI, there's a lot of like courses and resources out there. I don't know if it's the most beginner friendly thing to do, is why we have this, right? So I've gone over what AI is, its impact. Where there's another actually lesson that comes on actually, I think Thursday, or at least Thursday my time, where we go over like the different types of fields of AI, right? Like natural language processing, machine learning, deep learning, and like really dissect why there are so many. Because if you don't know, they're actually just subfield of subfields. They're like more in-depth fields. It's example, like in computer science, you have such thing as, I wish you guys could see me, but I'm also in a lab, so there's a level of privacy, and my camera allow the background. Um, yeah, so there is a lot of things that are such like it's like a while loop and a for loop. These are really nested subjects within AI. I've seen people use like neural network processing to understand the stock market, to use like natural language process. And we'll really break all those down and how they differ, examples of each, how would you go about going like approaching each, and maybe we'll even break down the different types of AI. We kind of went over some of it, but there's a lot of different types of training models for AIs, and AI actually is not hard. If you would like to use AI, using AI isn't hard. Understanding how AI, like how the tools of AI are made, like the algorithm to find k-means, or like how the algorithm to train the AI, that's the hard part. Using AI is not hard. There's a lot of APIs and libraries, especially within Python, that will allow you to train an AI super quickly to do whatever else you want. So training and like using AI is actually not the hardest part of AI. It's truly understanding the field of AI is what's hard. Yeah, it's great. Actually, people with statistical background usually does a really good job in computer science fields such as AI or machine learning and data science, um, because of um, how they have a really solid background in statistics. Essentially, that sounds actually really cool. Um, I would love to learn more about what you work on in projects because AI technically is really not my field. If it wasn't for the fact that this Global Hack Week was AI themed, not gonna lie, I probably wouldn't do AI related talk. I just essentially took everything I knew about AI and split it out. But yeah, I'm actually gonna teach computer architecture as an introduction course, workshop later in the week. I'm looking forward to that one more than all these AI talks. But yeah. I think there's two more AI talks I have to do. I have to do one on the difference of the subfields of AI and try to do examples of each. And then I'll do one on showing examples of AIs in the real world where we get to play with AI with chat. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I'll be prepping for those. We mentioned computer architecture, right? You can come by. I think it's Friday. Actually, I lied. It's all of them are on Friday. It's Friday at like 5 or 6 p.m. We will be doing like an introduction to computer architecture. It's pretty cool. I love assembly to a degree. It's such a good analysis tool. Thank you. I appreciate that. Again, I really am here to really break down the barrier, especially when people don't understand AI or how to get involved in AI. That's the most interesting, right? If people start using a tool that they don't understand, that becomes such a problem. Don't use things blindly. It's like that would be like equivalent of a contract, just telling it. Don't do that. Make sure you understand what you're getting involved with, how it works, how to do it ethically to a degree, where how to do it in a way that you don't think you are causing harm to other people and to society as a whole. Actually, I will hang around a bit more, but I really want to appreciate everyone for joining me today on our basic talk of what is AI and AI and its impact. I will be chilling around anymore to talk about any other questions. It could be general questions now. It doesn't have to be AI related. Feel free to ask me anything. Actually, what's funny is I make this. I love doing this. It's AMA. Ask me any question in chat, and I'll be more than happy to address it. It doesn't have to be AI related at this point. We're just trying to hang out for a bit before we close up this workshop. But yeah, actually, how do you start a research project? I don't know what. It depends how you define a research project. Yeah, it really depends on what you define as a research project. Because if you're just talking about long-term projects, that's not really hard to start, right? I would say the easiest start if you're trying to do like a software engineering project is necessary you use and try to replicate. For example, if you use a GPA calculator of some sort, replicate it. Build the front end, build the back end, maybe add some features like accounts management, storage, someone can log in, can save your score. A short-term project. Okay, yeah, that's even great. I would say this is the best thing is to look at something that you use on a day-to-day basis. It could be some people do budget trackers, right? It could be some people do I don't know. What do I use on a daily basis? Don't make it too complex. Like you can do a simple model of any application. And if you're trying to become a software engineer, it's great when you get both back end, front end experience, where you're able to link both. Learn a bit of SQL. SQL is a really underappreciated, really high in demand skill. But yeah, I would say, and what stack would I recommend? The stack really depends on what you're comfortable with. A lot about the LAMP stack. But there's a lot of different stack out there that are pretty good. I would say it really depends on what you're trying to really achieve, right? Because different stacks is good for different projects. I'm personally I have my preferences for my front end and back end stuff. I'm actually picking up some better database skills. So, my main focus is generally in malware and like cybersecurity related type of study. And for search, again, find something you like or something you use and replicate it, and then start using it to test its functionality. I would say a bit about the software development process. I don't think so. AI machine learning is a really specialized field in computer science, but it is definitely 100% not something you can't self-learn. You can definitely self-learn AI. I just think it's one of the harder ones to learn without a bit more structure. There's definitely videos and programs that help you break into AI. And again, I said this, AI is not hard to use. If you're trying, it's like everything, right? A person can know how to use how to program things, but not truly understand how each things work on the like Microsoft level, right? Like you can truly you can do int. If let's say you're in Python, you can do like something else where like int, where even C++, you can do like int something. You might not understand how the bits and bytes of the computer work, how the hardware works and function, but that's like AI, right? We have abstracted AI so far. If you don't understand the concept of abstraction, essentially you don't have to understand what is working underneath, but you can still use the tool. So if you're just trying to learn and use AI, you might not actually understand AI in machine learning. Use it for sure. It's not hard to learn to use it because we have extracted it so far. There's libraries that legit teach you how to use it. Python library. A really good one is I think it's AI Gym is what it's called. I can't recall on the top of my head, but like that would allow you to learn basic AI, how to train AI. They have different simulation environments set up for you. But yeah, it's not. The part is understanding the actual complexity of how AI works, or the really nitty gritty of the algorithms, how to calculate k-means, how to do gradient descent. What did I just say? But to use AI and learn how to use AI should not be too bad. You can be able to look for, let's say, a video or two or three, or a YouTube series, or even look for online course that can teach into the theoretical. So you know how like most thing is like usage or practical usage and the theoretical. If you're trying to get to the theoretical of AI, that's a lot harder than just learning like practical usage of AI. Yes, you can use let's see. Yes, you can a lot of time they will use VM instance to test that. Yeah. It does well. It can involve calculus. You can also abstract that out depending on what you're doing. It can involve a lot of math, right? Because technicality wise, you have to understand a lot of statistics, you have to understand gradient descent, you have to know like linear algebra, statistics, calculus, etc. But you can abstract a lot of those out. It's like taking a physics class, right? You cannot understand what really gravity is, right? Or like how gravity works, but I can tell you gravity is 9.81, where you understand you can understand the formula for velocity, but you might not know how it's driven there. Where, like, for example, there's definitely concept. Physics is just really easy because a lot of people take physics, but you can definitely not fully understand how you drive a formula, but just know what the formula does. That's kind of like how it works, right? You can understand how to use AI, but you might not understand the logic behind or deep down with an AI. There's also the data and what you are measuring that is important. AI needs to use AI needs to use strategically in organization. That is for sure. The source of the data, how you use it, right? The risk you're taking by using AI and all that are really important. I love people who are interested in AI. Personally, it's not my favorite topic of computer science, but I don't mind it personally. So. Cool. Any other questions? What is my favorite? I'm personally into cybersecurity, so that includes like red team, blue team exercises, right? And you get analysis. So it's in like the cybersecurity realm. That is my personal niche, at least right now. What I think it is in computer science. AI might have a role in that, but AI definitely isn't the thing I would do research in, where I would do X, Y, Z in. I wouldn't get a PhD in AI. I might use AI in my research on another topic. Wait, why is Wei here? Hold on, what? I'm confused. Did Wei say something? I don't see that message from Wei. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, I was so confused for a second because Wei does stop by a lot of my streams. Actually, me and Wei might plan to do a stream together. I think it'll be pretty fun. What do you think about all the low code or no code application? I don't think there's anything wrong with it, especially in terms of a cell or application, or like in terms of a cell of usage, right? Low code and no code application helps people get things done. I think as long as there are people who understand what its actual functionality was, there's a way to look at the code as its source level. I don't think there's any problem with it. I think it's actually great to have low code or no code application where people are able to achieve what they want without having such a high barrier of high barrier of entry. It's actually one of the best ways, right, to fully understand maybe through a low code or no code environment how to do something, and then slowly learn your way and build it to a way where you can do it with code. I don't think coding should be a way to prevent people from getting involved in stuff. I am interested in creating healthcare screening tools using AI. However, I don't know how to use AI. I only know healthcare-related information. What would you do to build a healthcare screening tool project using AI if you were me? I actually love this question because that's great. So this is a really prime example of applying AI where you don't have to understand AI to a deep level. So, for example, you're saying that you're interested in creating a helpful tool. You have already all the healthcare information you need. All you need to really to build the AI process. There's libraries out there, so I would pick a language you like. Look at AI libraries for that language to see if one that suits your fit. Even possible, look for maybe a niche for maybe API specifically that's been built. Or libraries that's been built around AI training for that. But yeah, so for example, I think I forgot there we have a natural language processor, natural language process sponsor, Cohere. Cohere is our natural language process sponsor. It's AI related. That's always a good place to start if you want to get started with learning some sort of AI, depending what type of screening tool you want to build, right? There's AI that is better look at identifying graphical images and training off of graphical images. There's AI that are better at text, etc. It really depends on what you're going for. I would first pick a language you're comfortable with, pick a library you're comfortable with. And if you're trying to really break in and learn, I think we have some resources for Cohere, one of our sponsors, that does work in the AI and machine learning realm. But yeah, it's feel free to always reach out if you go to university or if you go to, let's say, school, mostly university. You can always break out to a different department and talk to them about your interest in AI and see if a professor might even getting you like started what they would do. There's a lot of natural language processing professor or machine learning professors at general universities. You can also contact on technical level. It depends. This is a luck thing, but you can always contact professors saying, "Hey, I am a student." That you don't have to be in like college, right? And say like, I think it's Cohere. Yes, Cohere. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, this would be so embarrassing. But I'm here today. But yeah, I would reach out. There's a lot of people. If you're a student of any kind, would be more than happy to help you get started. I might not be the best because again, I don't have a specialty focus in AI. I can talk about ethics as I do a lot of ethics stuff. I can also talk to you about, let's say, like I talk about actually doing AI stuff. I'm actually gonna be learning more of AI myself this year. So that's a work in progress for myself. But yeah, Cohere, it is. Cohere.ai is a natural language processing toolkit that essentially a library that will help you use AI. There we go. So I'm not going to get fired today. Congratulations, me. But yeah, any other last minute questions? I love doing these sessions. if not, I'm actually gonna take a look and see what is coming up next. So again, this week is AI machine learning week. I actually did not know this. We have planned out most of our week. Next Global Hack Week is gonna be Social Good Week. The following will be API Week. Ooh, it's fun. But yeah, so for this Global Hack Week, we have, as you know, machine learning AI, and what is coming up after me is at 8 p.m. Eastern Pacific time. We have a workshop on using Git and GitHub coming up at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Any other last minute questions? How can we get swag? Oh, okay. A good beginner AI project. A good beginner AI project, I would say, is to follow a tutorial that will do it with you, right? So like, those are great to get started. It's just Google a simple tutorial that walks you through getting a library, using the library, training the library, applying the library, seeing the results of the library or your AI. I said library there, but because I'm kind of using them as like switching. But I think that's the best way to get started. Like many things, I think also the best way to get started in like a software engineering project is to do it with someone else, so you learn the ins and out, and then do something on your own. The learning process is great. Maybe you can learn it theoretically, then do it and learn it practically with someone else, and do it by yourself to really reinforce it, right? So it's kind of like you can watch some videos on AI, find someone who's doing AI project that is like a walkthrough, do it together. And then after you've done that, apply that AI skill and try to do something unique with it. We're built upon what you built. What could be a good beginner AI project? I've seen these at hackathons, which is if you want to, let's say, use natural language processing AI to do some sort of maybe sentence processing for like to determine emotion, or to use like computer vision AI or like categorical AI to, let's say, sort something, right? I take a picture of a recycling object to sort if it's what type of recycling it goes into, or it could be I can take a picture of I can take a picture of Apple and it tells me what category or type of Apple it is, right? You can use that to do stuff like that. Those are pretty simpler beginner projects for AI. How do we get swag? By being active this week, you accrue, I think, points, and from that you can gain swag that will be mailed out to you. So if you have not updated your address form, please make sure you update your address form. Also really cool would be participating in our challenges. Those are also really great to do. And again, I do want to remind everyone, again, this is AI related, but it's definitely not all. Today at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have our using GitHub workshop, which is 6:30 p.m. IST. And I think I might sign up if there's no others. Again, I appreciate everyone being here. I hope everyone have a wonderful rest of your day. Make sure you take a break. Oh, not that. Make sure everyone get some rest, and I would love to see you guys back here. Well, not me, but I would love to see you guys come support our next workshop. And I will be back on tomorrow at 11 o'clock, actually, to do a Wix workshop, teaching you how to use third-party application within Wix for their newest thing. But for right now, it's temporary. Thank you so much for joining me and spending your time with me. Yeah. Hope everyone have a wonderful rest of your day, night, morning, wherever you are, wherever time it is. Good night, or good morning, or good afternoon. Pick your poison there.